Tango 1 at the top, we are at pop-up vehicle. 10-4, Tango 1, you have control. Tango 1 copy. Stand by. Stand by.
Integrity, passion, resilience. That's what this place was built on. That's what our community is founded on. Don't act like the example, just be the example. This is the home of the greatest fitness community in the world. We're trying to create strong, able bodies, resilient to injury with a gas tank to get shit done. If there's one thing from this podcast, it's about taking immediate action. Find the problem, fix the problem. This is your opportunity. It's either a hell yes or a fuck no. It's that simple. You're doing the Tango 1 podcast. Now is the time to take action. Now's the time to do more and be more. This is episode 4 of the Tango 1 podcast. I'm Tony Smith, retired cop, tactical team leader, and currently the owner and the founder of the garage gym and my new business, Tango 1 Solutions. I'll be joined by my friend, fireman, co-host, and amateur stuntman, Casey Wright from the Sioux, ex-University of Windsor quarterback, and good friend and ready to roll, man. Our mission on this podcast is to challenge everyone to guide you to create immediate action plans against your problems and your weaknesses. Simply put, we just want you to do more and be more. On today's episode, like we promised, we're bringing in all kinds of great people from my network, people that have inspired me and that I think have inspired you. Today we have Baillie, Peter Baillie. Okay, he's a longtime businessman. He spent many years in the service industry. He owned the Amsterdam Lounge, if you guys remember that place, on University, right? University West?
No, it was Plisher.
Plisher, yeah, Plisher and University, right?
Yeah.
He attended Sheridan College for illustration program, then came to the U of Windsor for visual arts and communication. He took his passion for art and started tattooing. You'll see everything that covers my arm. That's why I want short sleeves today is from Pete, except for the one tiny little first tattoo I got before I met him. He now owns Pop Inc., which houses the most tattoo artists under one roof in the city of Windsor, which is pretty crazy. If you haven't seen that place, it's kind of very unique, and we'll talk about that a lot. So welcome to the show, Pete.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, so in today's show, we just really want to talk about some growth, both personal and business, inspiring positive change in yourself and in others. And we don't know, like with Pete and I, this is how it is. So if you guys have never had a tattoo, like my tattoos have taken hours, so I don't know how many thousands of hours I feel like I've
spent a lot for sure.
Spent it with your heavy hands. Mm-hmm. That's my joke with Pete. That's a tattoo insult, I think, right?
These huge tiny men.
So him and I just shoot the shit for constant. So we really have no idea where this podcast is gonna go. It could be anything from the coronavirus to life, health, happiness, any kind of challenge. Windsor, friends, and just family routines. So this thing can go anywhere. Buckle up. Let's have some fun. So Pete, we'd love to just kind of kick off with, I don't want to get too much into the bar business, but I'd like to know, like, from one entrepreneur, and we had a bar owner in here the other day. I've owned a bar, failure of a bar. And we just want to know how
it's only a failure if you don't learn from it, right?
Yeah, you got it. How did you go from owning the Amsterdam, which was a pretty kick-ass place, to, tattooing, really?
So I was involved in some capacity in the service industry since I was about 13 or 14. So always did something in that. So I was always interested in it. The natural progression from becoming a dishwasher to onwards and upwards was eventually owning a spot. So we ended up purchasing that bar in 1999. And then from there we had it for 3 years. Great 3 years, but anyone who's kind of lived that bar life, that lifestyle, it's going to get to you. So long hours, lots of alcohol, it's tough on the body, the mind, and relationships around you. So especially if you're trying to do it well, because you're got to be the life of the party and you're always go, 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 go. And it's an environment it's difficult to be your best at in other aspects of your life. So we had some issues with the landlord, and it got to a point where decisions had to be made, and it was, do we kind of close up or do we fight the landlord, who happened to be a group of lawyers as well? So it was like talking with our legal counsel. They're like, this is going to be something that it's going to require a substantial amount of money. It's going to take some time. Is this something you want to go down? So take some time and think about that. And, reflecting on that, I realized this was not where I wanted my life to go for the next 10, 20, 30 years. It was amazing. It was fantastic. I wouldn't change it for the world, but I had reached the end of that journey where the amount of kind of goodness I could squeeze out of that situation was getting near an end. I needed a change in my lifestyle. So Rob Brown from Sanctuary Tattoos here in Windsor, he had seen a lot of my art shows and we'd been friends and he'd done some of my tattoos. And so he had discussed with me on multiple occasions, like, you should really get into this tattooing thing. And I'm like, it's not necessarily my gig. And this was, early on in the late 90s. And he kept kind of saying, you know what, I think you would be good at it. You probably would be something good you should think about. And so when this opportunity came up, or the end of this particular road, I had to reassess things and reevaluate where I was going to go. Thankfully, fantastic for Rob to have given me that opportunity. I said, fine, let's do this. This is something I think we should explore. Started an apprenticeship with Rob, learned a lot, and started tattooing. So I believe I started with him apprenticing in October of 2002, I believe, and did my first tattoo in May of the following year. But and then ever since then, kind of grew from there. And without question, I would say is one of the most pivotal points in my life, where you went from the lowest of the low to your entire being, who you identified yourself with as, let's say, a bar owner, especially within the city, to having to change that completely, giving up that life, that persona, and then taking on a whole new challenge. Was certainly scary, but interesting and fun. But it was, without question, the best thing that ever could have happened to me. So super fortunate for that.
That's cool. And you went from like owning, being in charge, to like, that says a lot, man. Like, to chase your dream doesn't mean like you go from owning to owning and being in charge. You went from owning to like
sweeping floors,
doing
to
apprentice,
toilets,
right? Like,
and back in the day, we actually used to have to make needles. You get loose needles, and they won't bore you, but you have to solder them all together in this small little room where I'm sure we have cancer just from being set in there. And then you got to make these needles and clean them and sterilize them and run through an autoclave, clean tubes. So a bunch of things that now anyone getting involved into the industry isn't required to do any of these things. All the kind of grunt work. It certainly was, I wouldn't say humbling, because I was excited to do it, but you have to, you can't look at yourself as something greater than the jobs that you're required to do. And even as a bar owner, I loved washing dishes. When the bar is super busy and you can help out, and you let your primary staff do the jobs they're there to do, I'll do the support staff. I'll make sure your job is going to be easier. I will clean all the dishes. Get your hands dirty. What kind of piece of shit does that?
This is what I love.
Can we swear on this?
Yeah, we can swear. Hell yeah, we can swear. Good. This is what I love, because now this is we call it episode 4, but it's really our 5th episode, including the episode 0 that we kicked off with. And it's like, we come in here, we got all these great people and these great like leaders in all these different industries, and it keeps coming back full circle to like guys who are successful. We haven't had any women on here yet, but I'm sure when we do, it'll be the same kind of thing. It's like, man, jump in, a job needs to be done, do it, and do it well, and do it as well as you can. You don't have to be as good as everybody else at your job or at their job, but able to do it. So obviously art, you took art in school, and art was a passion, and like people only see you as a tattoo artist from the outside, not only, but that's what they view you as. But like friends like myself and Danny, and how a lot of people got to know you, know that you're actually an artist. Like, there's not just tattooing on the skin. There's, and like we're gonna say, you guys notice the set's a little different. This is all Pete today. We're like so pumped and so thankful that you did this for us. But like, let's talk art. Like, you took art. What was the goal? You kind of already outlined that it wasn't tattoos. What did you think you'd do with that?
And it's funny because friends of mine back in the day would joke with me where they're like, "Oh, this is great. You can get into art and do all our tattoos." I'm like, if you think I'm dealing with youth degenerates for the rest of my life, taking 7 years of post-secondary education to do tattoos, you're crazy. Now, of course, we have a good laugh anytime we meet up. But back then the industry was completely different. So tattooing was not even on the radar. For me, I guess my passion growing up was sports and was art, drawing, painting, things like that. So being small in stature, I was not going to go anywhere in football or anything like that. So it was clearly art was going to be my focus of things after school. So illustration was what I expected I wanted to do. And with illustration, generally you'd be freelance with the Toronto, Montreal area, or Vancouver, one of the major metropolises. And you would, now you can do it remotely anywhere, but basically a company would say, we need you to do this painting for this advertisement, or this or a drawing, or certain things for magazines, things like that. So back then the industry was slightly different, and I knew one or two illustrators, and it was a very cool job at the time. You had freedom to do things, but as I went through school with that, I realized that this maybe wasn't the route I expected to go to. But thought hopefully there was going to be more. So came into the University of Windsor expecting there would be some more education on the book side of it, as opposed to just the learning hands-on stuff, which was okay. But even with that, I was left expecting there to be more things to have learned. So I was a little disappointed with the education, and then where to go with it. And starving artist is a term that is not by chance. It's difficult to make a living at that. And at that time, tattooing and trying to actually make a career or a living out of it that would sustain yourself, let alone a family, was next to impossible. So I was hoping to develop or to find some type of avenue that I could use those skills in art to make a living and set out a career, but I had no real set idea, concrete in anything. So it's really just fortunate that I continued painting, I continued doing art shows, we did things around the city and other places, and you do some commission work for people. But I mean, I have to really give my hands to Rob Brown for directing everything in, and I just happened to get in at the right time. It's super, super fortunate. Lucky. Yeah.
So what we're saying, Casey, is that fire, you want to be a firefighter in Windsor, got this nice boss who's kind of let you sweep the the floors and the toilets, and is giving you this job, baby.
Keep it up.
Yes. Yes.
You never know what happens down the pipe, right? Yeah. It's hard to tell the future.
So I got a question with this too. So when you're starting off with tattooing, right? So now that you've gotten into it, a big thing with it is you're drawing on people's skin, and I'm sure at the start it's obviously very different drawing on a sheet of paper as opposed to on someone's body. What are some tactics to do, and how do you really get into being comfortable starting off? Again, you could be a great artist on paper, now being able to do that onto people. What do you do to get started with all of that?
Practice. Really, your best canvas will be yourself, because then you're going to have the feeling on whether you're going too deep, not deep enough. And if you fuck it up too badly, you got to wear it so you don't have that guilt of somebody else doing it. Or you get a lot of your friends and bribe them and get them drunk and maybe try to do it that way. But it's one of those things that it's odd, because I find that sometimes if you're an excellent artist on paper, you have these skills that you've mastered, or at least you've gotten to a certain thing. You're aware that you can produce or reproduce a certain image or whatever with somewhat ease. To transfer that now onto a living canvas that has so many different parameters that are out of your control is extremely frustrating to some people, because I can do this, no problem. And then you're go and why is this not working? There's too many variables. What's happening? And they get frustrated, and you're mentally, I can't do this anymore. So you got to learn to walk again. And if you're really good at this, it can be debilitating and deflating to realize that, I suck at this. I thought it was going to be the same thing. So, it's a good thing, because then you will learn and you will get through those humps. But it's interesting to see sometimes excellent artists, how they struggle, and they get so mentally beat down by not being able to do what they think they should be able to do. So practice.
It's a humbling thing, kind of getting knocked down back to square one.
What I would say is practice.
It's pretty crazy. We don't get into the art of tattooing too much with the fine details, but watching you. So watching you develop as a tattoo artist. I came to you, when you were still in Rob's place. I came actually looking for Rob, because he had done a tattoo on Danny, and I wasn't overly thrilled with my first tattoo. And she's like, go to see Rob. So I walk in, I'm looking for Rob, and you're like, well, Rob's not here, but I'll tattoo you. And I'm looking at you with your cheetah print hair at the time, or maybe it was pink or whatever.
All the above.
And I'm like, I remember this motherfucker from Woody's. I don't know that I want him to tattoo me. I'm like, but okay. And now watching your progression, like with this sleeve and my ribs and stuff, like you can see how you've like improved. When I'm like very happy with every tattoo, but like it is like the experience shows as you work through your way down my arm, which is pretty crazy. And also crazy is like when you go into a guy like you, especially. And I don't know because I've really never gone to anybody else, I guess. But like when I send so many people to you,
thank you.
And I'm like, yeah, go in there with your idea and tell him and let him figure it out. Most people go with like they want a small tattoo and you make it bigger, and or they want it here and you're like that will look dumb because of how your muscle move. Like there's a lot to think about. And do you think most guys are doing that much stuff, guys and girls, or is that something you find that you're probably one of the reasons that sets you apart in this city?
So, I mean, that is, there's so much to unpack in that particular question.
Yeah, you know what? Don't rip on your friends, I guess. Or
no. And by no means will I be ripping
position.
on that. I think, okay, to try to hit it quickly, starting out, you had to be extremely versatile. You, as a tattoo artist, you kind of had to do just about anything that was going to come through that door. So you weren't specializing per se in any one thing. We're fortunate enough now that there's so many amazing tattoo artists in our region, they can specialize on their own style. So this is all they do. And I'm sure they're all capable of doing other things, but they now almost dictate what they want to do, and then clients will come and do that. Where before, we had to work with the client specifically. So they come in with a problem, you have to come up with a visual solution to try to figure out how do we take this problem or design, how do we best make this into something that is going to grow with you, work with your anatomy, and go through that. So I think like anything else, the more information, the more knowledge base you have, whether it be with anatomy, how things are going to last over time, you're going to be able to come up with a better solution to that visual problem. So, whether it's musculature, whether it's depending on how much movement it's going to get, how it's going to look best, is it usually in a, extended position or not? So for us, and I think for me, I think maybe some of the older schools type people, we maybe had to grow up knowing that we had to service all types of people and try to do all types of things, where now some of the newer people are very specialized, like this is the design they have, this is where we're going to put it, and this is kind of the end of the story. So it's not so much a collaboration, but this is almost the product I'm going to put out. If you want this product, you come and get it. I'm jealous because I think that's amazing, and most of these artists out there that do that are fantastic, but I'm still on the old school thing where it's like, I'm not specialized in anything. It's like, you want something, I will do my best to try to make it work. If for whatever reason I think there's someone who's better suited to do that job, I will send you to them. But I like the challenge of, okay, maybe we're going to do this one day, this style, and how do we make it work within your anatomy? And that's it. People don't know how is it going to age, or design-wise between one muscle to the other, or if you're going to be constantly moving, do you want that face of a portrait to be always in movement? Clearly not. So there's certain things that sometimes people don't really pay attention to, that someone who's been doing this for a very long time should know those things, and then at least get you through the process and give you a much better tattoo than just say, yeah, this is where you want it, peel it off, stick it, you're good to go. So.
And then let's talk about that old school a little bit, because when I don't know, 2006, probably the first time I got a tattoo. So men weren't walking around with very colorful tattoos, back in, I'd say those mid 2000s. Like it was a lot of just the green and the whatever, the normal color of tattoo kind of. And you were ahead of the game in that, I think, in that regard. And as far as my small circles ran in the tattoo crew, but like, you really encouraged me to get these like colorful tattoos, and I'm beyond happy with them. And that's the first thing people say, like, oh, I love the color in those tattoos. You're one of the most well-read and versed people in all kinds of different areas, and I am not, especially when it comes to art. Is that like something you studied in particular? Like is it that the Van Gogh style? Like, forgive me for being ignorant, but is that like, what is that kind of like some kind of flair, some kind of specialty that you like?
Well, I think, so personally, I mean, I feel that photography is probably the best way to put it. Is sometimes you look at a cityscape and it's black and gray, like a black and white photograph, and it's absolutely beautiful. And then if you were to actually get that same photograph in color, the color almost takes away from the structure and the feeling of that. So I strongly believe that there are some tattoos that should be better black and gray. But if you had a bunch of flowers and it was all black and gray, you're not going to be able to distinguish one flower from the next. And you're going to lose so much of the vibrancy and life and emotion to that tattoo. So I gravitate typically towards trying to have images that will describe more emotion through color, and then you can have more separation through color. So it adds an extra element that you can tell that story appropriately for whatever you want to do with that story, right? You know, certain colors are warm and will give you more of a sense of happiness, where other ones are somber. You know, Picasso in his blue period. There you go. You can throw that to your friends.
Yes.
Very somber and keeping that, you know, all blue tones to give an emotional response. So if you did that series all in reds and oranges, it would be a completely different feeling for the viewer. And of course for the painter or the artist themselves. So I think back in the day there was lots of colorful artists doing certain things, but the general population liked the black and gray type thing. I don't want to say it's one's easier or more difficult, but even today there's still a lot of people who really like the black and gray until they get color, and then usually they'll come to the dark side and be like, yeah, I like this color, let's get some pink on me, let's do this.
Love it. Okay, last tattoo question, then we'll get on to more some business and life stuff. So a question is, with the tattoos and just art in general, do you appreciate more a guy that comes like me? Like, if you guys don't, I go to Pete, and this is how I am with almost everything. Casey can attest to this. Is like, this is what I want. Just make it. And like, I go with these like real loose ideas with Pete. I'll send him like 5 or 6 kind of like images that are like not what I want, but what I want, like real like subliminal messages.
Yeah.
And then you've never failed to disappoint. I mean, there's times where you and I will go back and tweak and all, but there's very rarely where it's not your first sketch, outside of the one that you still hate, you know, the good versus evil, the 300 tattoo at the top. But and I love it, but he despises this thing.
Yeah.
But like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the guy who's like, hey, I want this logo, boom, right here, or do you prefer that ability to create?
So I think once again, I am not the easiest person I think to have onto this, because there's no real quick, easy answer. There are times where if someone says...
That's exactly why we have you on here. Otherwise, the podcast would be another 8 minutes.
Fair enough. So if someone comes up and says, I want the Garage Gym logo and I want it and thrown on my chest, there's days where it's like, fantastic. My intellectual capacity is a little limited today, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to take it. If I look at my job as being a problem solver, you've already given me the solution to the problem. Now, there may be some suggestions of like, well, maybe if you do this, this, and this. But ultimately, you've come to your answer. Now, if like you and I, if we have more of a collaboration, you come, I kind of think I want some of these things. How do we achieve this? And then I can take that idea and I can play with different elements and go, okay, well, I think this. We discuss it. I tell you exactly why I think we should do this or have these colors and where we should put it. And then we can go, okay, it's like even designing a logo, right? What do we want to achieve with this? What's the feel we want? Ultimately, how do we want someone to react to what we're going to put on you? How do we want you to react? And one simple idea done 2 different ways can elicit a completely different response. So I enjoy tackling those problems where someone goes, I don't know exactly what I want, but this is kind of what, and then we kind of go through it together and figure out, okay, this is what we can do, this is where we can go, and these are the options we have for what we want to achieve. But then there's some days where it's just like, yeah, is that what you want?
Just
sit down.
take it and go with it.
I'll gladly do this, and I will.
It's sick of arguing with people sometimes.
Well, and you know what? Once again, I'll thank you to Rob Brown. I'm the type of individual that, to a fault, sometimes will be like, I can make this work. I'm not going to give up on this. This problem person, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make sure this is good. And Rob was like, don't touch it. Don't do it. That's going to be a problem client. I'm like, no, I got this. Sure enough, how many hours down the road, how many times are they upset with the design? How many things do you do and you just can't make them happy? And then you just think, I've invested 20 hours into this. and this individual, no matter what you do, they're not going to be happy, or it's just not going to work. And there are some cases and some people where you just, with knowledge, you go, unfortunately, I'm not the individual for you. I'm not going to be able to make that work. And simple things like, if someone goes, make this pretty, well, that's great. What's pretty for you?
What does that mean?
That's kind of like, make your food delicious. Well, if I like steak and you like fish, our two palates are going to be completely different. So the word delicious, an abstract term, make it pretty or make it awesome, make it funky or make it whatever, that's an abstract term that we are not on the same page with. If you have concrete terms, we can work together. But when people have these abstract terms, sometimes their client, they're not sure what they want. They want you to figure it all out. But if you're not speaking the same language, then it's going to be such a long process to try to get to that. So that's why sometimes there's people that you can collaborate with and are fantastic. And that I find is always the best work. And then there's some people, it's next to impossible to collaborate.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of this is about like entrepreneurs, and that's a lot of the people I'm bringing in. And it's odd that that's become my network of people, and it was my network of people before I left the policing. That's kind of, I love like examining kind of relationships, but it's really important that entrepreneurs understand that what you just said. Like, it's okay to let, you make a lot of money per hour, right? You charge to let that walk out the door, man. Like that takes confidence, and like that's okay, and we do too. Like, if you're giving a premium service, premium product, you charge a premium price, and customers are gonna get that the best, right? And you have people walk in and you're able to say like, I'm not the person for you. Even if they wanted to double that price, they're not the person for you, because there's no money that's going to make it worth it if I'm in constant fight or flight mode when I'm dealing with you.
Well, and kind of going Pareto's law here, it's like, sure, if I was looking at it strictly as a monetary versus time, if I have to find a solution to your problem and it's going to take me 5 hours and we're both going to be great with it, great. I've invested 5 hours of my time, right, into this. Now, if I have to invest 30 hours of my time to get the same product, you're not being charged for this 30 hours previous, just for the finished product. So it would be as strictly as business. It's like, if I'm going to lose 30 hours when I could do, let's say, 10 other people within that time, I just lost 10x my potential revenue. So sometimes you have to identify those people and go, okay, as a business, I'm going to be spending all this time where I could be generating revenue instead. Is this going to be worth the final product or the final outcome? And that's it. A lot of times it's like, I would be remiss as a business person investing all this time to get a small return when I have good paying customers who the revenue will be X amount. Why would I cut it down for this? So it's identifying those problems or issues that, well, then Pareto's law is 80 to 20. So 20% of your invested time may bring in 80% of your revenues. But transversely, there is 20% of your people or 20% of your problems that are going to suck up 80% of your time, and it's not going to be worth it. And you have to identify which camp everything kind of falls in. And I think through the more time you put into whatever business or life in general, what you do, you realize where is your non-renewable resource of time, where is it best put, and where you're going to get the maximal returns on that.
Right. Time is your non-renewable resource. And like, I know you, I mean, you can see the fire in Pete's eyes as he speaks, like you're passionate. And I know when like somebody who pisses you off or kind of ruins your day, like I know you're like me, and Casey, you're pretty good at this, or at least you hide it pretty well. But like your ability to just
internal.
Like, close the door, pop, go home and leave it. And I know like that's somewhere where you probably struggle. I know it's somewhere where I struggle. So like getting, just shaking hands and leaving that customer to go somewhere elsewhere, and even recommending them to go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to spend the time convincing you of how we do it. You want to do that? Absolutely.
Sure.
These are 3 amazing coaches for CrossFit. Yeah. This is the only guy I know that does powerlifting. Go see these people and they will, and tell them I sent you. and enjoy.
Wow,
and do what you want.
I wouldn't tell him us.
Just in case.
Tell him
Some of those
someone sent you.
customers I wouldn't.
Exactly.
Some of the customers I'm like, oh, go
Yeah.
see. That's the one you send to the enemy. But all right, let's move on. I'm gonna drop a word from our sponsor. So if you guys want to fill your drinks and take a second to breathe. But it's a little hot up here today, not climate controlled in the Tango One Podcast Center. We want to do an advertisement for Axel Films. Axel Films is a video production company providing creative strategies and powerful video marketing campaigns for brands. They provide creative video services for small and large companies alike, just like us, the Garage Gym, or as massive as the Toronto Raptors. So if you're a motivated business owner and you're looking to launch a new product or service, Axel has the experience and that know-how to bring attention to your brand through creative marketing and video, which is in today's area, in today's day and age, so huge for your business awareness and your overall brand. So Axel's an all-in-one video production service. They're offering everything in-house from strategy, concepts, and writing to producing, capturing, and editing your final branded video. Visit axelfilms.com to learn more and tell them that Tango One sent you. The tattoo you did on Danny's arm, I mean, you got to be so proud of that one. That one,
I'm happy with it.
that one's amazing. Like, if you ever brought anything to life that like jumps out, like she gets everywhere she goes, she gets those kind of comments on, oh my God, that tattoo's amazing. So that's like, just speaks volumes. So if you guys could throw that up and a few of my tattoos and some of Pete's Instagram up.
Not the 300.
Not the 300. We'll go a little bit. Oh, the football. The football gets a lot of love.
Yeah.
My favorite
It's very
one,
unique, which is great.
My favorite one, the SWAT guys here.
Yeah. Unique as well.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
it's cool, and you took that right out of a newspaper and made it look real on my arm, which is pretty crazy. So let's talk about that. So we talk about the growth, how you've developed down my arm, but let's talk about that. Like, so you went from when I first met you in that tiny office at Sanctuary Pro. Hopefully, was that right out of your apprenticeship? Was I like?
Well,
Was that like tattoo 3?
You were one of his drunk friends.
you know,
Let me drink.
this was like the 5 podcast. He was the repeat podcast.
That was the 0. Yeah, okay.
The reach.
No, I had lots of degenerate friends who were more than happy to give schedule. Before I got on.
I love you.
I'm pretty sure there were still some police officers I had done speaking to degenerates before I got onto the kids.
Yeah, we were, especially
Yeah.
back in those days, we
Yeah.
were a rowdy bunch. Anyways, okay, so the tiny room and office at Sanctuary. Rob Brown, who's still a very respected tattoo guy in this city, one of the best. Then you went to some like unclimate controlled back room in Erie Street. Like, I don't know, we would have walked through like over top of like a butcher or something. It was messed up.
What is the statute of limitations on these things for a health board?
Well, I don't know.
Well, look, so yeah, there was definitely what ended up happening is I ended up moving to Paris, Ontario, and then I returned.
I forgot about this whole step. Yes, Paris, and then
So-
you'd come back. Yeah.
And so I would return 1 week out of the month to service my clients and customers and make sure that I could take care of everyone. And then Rob was growing his business, so I wasn't really able to have space just for that amount of time there. So then I had to work kind of wherever I could find space. Luckily, or fortunate enough, there was other business owners that allowed me to. They had empty space that I could rent for when I came in. We set it up, as clean and as sterile as we possibly could, and worked from all those places when I was in town. And of course, I had the option to come to my studio in Paris, but which we did have quite a few people, more than I actually expected. But it was interesting working out of different environments.
Yeah.
The bottom basement of Symbol was always a fun.
Oh, I forgot about that too. Yeah, the basement of the bar.
Yeah.
So, and now though, like, let's talk about now and everything in between, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I make that seem like that was 2 years. That was 15, 16 years to get to where you are now with Pop Inc., which is like, if you walk in there, it's just got a really like funky like feel to it. Just, I mean, you've had some parties in there that were like, you wouldn't even know you're in like a tattoo hair salon, like a hair salon in the front, tattoos in the back, with a whole crew of people. Like, I don't know that Windsor's ever seen that, which was pretty like cool. So like, was that the dream, or how did you get there?
So when I first moved to the city here for university, my first job was working the door at Changes by Night. And the woman who hired me there is Tracy Patterson. And Tracy Patterson and myself have worked together in some capacity ever since that day. So we're talking 25 years-ish or something. So she was my boss there. She worked for me at the Amsterdam when I had it. We've done art shows together and collaborative painting events the entire time through. So through her hair career, I was her guinea pig. I mean, she's one of my best friends, but also so fortunate to have someone like that as a business partner. So it came to the point where Tracy was working with Charles Carrico and Carla. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm forgetting Carla's last name for a second. Anyways, Carla. Oh my God. Anyway, so Carla and Charles, they all worked together at
It's the paint fumes from being in here all day.
From Kathmandu. And they decided they were going to open up their own hair place. And so Tracy had approached me. She said, look, we're going to do this. We're going to open up a hair thing. Do you want to have a tattoo space in there? And we can work together in conjunction, right? And I said, absolutely. So they gave me a little room upstairs, and I was able to then service clients out of there just for same type of thing, 1 week out of the month. And then as things changed in my life, this and that, I came down and I relocated back into Windsor. And then I worked more there permanently. And so then from that point, realizing that we would then be working as a group and our growth would be together, that we would then try to get a vision of how that whole thing, Pop, would work. Because technically Pop was theirs and I was like a side kind of thing. So it was Pop hair, and then I was kind of like this back room that I worked out of. But as we decided to grow together as a group, my side of it, just because of the industry itself, grew exponentially. And so then we needed to expand. And so it came to a point where it's like, guys, I need to grow. I have other artists that would like to work under our roof, and how do we do this? And so we went from the place on Erie Street, and then one of the other big things that, as you know, I'm a huge proponent of for any business owner, when the time comes, it is so important to try to purchase your own building, because that is a game changer and so many levels. And so it got to the point where we were pushing for that. A couple opportunities to come up. They didn't really work out until we had this place on Ottawa Street, and it was fantastic. And it's like, okay, time to do it. So we ended up buying that as a group, and moved everything over there. And from there, it has once again just kind of grown, where we, I had a corner in the back where we had myself and I believe 2 or 3 other artists there. And then it slowly started to expand. And then we grew into a second location where we had more artists over there with other hair stylists. Things went differently through that whole kind of procession. But we've now returned everyone under the same roof, where we now have, I believe, 9 tattoo artists under the one roof, as well as, I believe, 10 to 12 hairstylists on the other side. But it went from working in the back of closets to now we're not working in the back of closets.
Yeah, man, like the new spot, which is like more than a few years old now.
Yeah.
It's like we were going from, no climate control to
yeah, it was horrible.
And then on Erie, walking up those big stairs to now where it's like you're sitting down in front of this massive flat screen TV, and like you got all the luxuries and like this whole crew of guys that are there like women joking around. It's a great spot. And I've watched you just how you've like kind of fine tuned from, like, you only have appointments on certain days for your, what would you call that? Those are your first meets.
Well, and here's the other thing, consultations, that's completely changed now too. So that is the one thing that I continually do is try to make sure you do an audit. For me, it's generally a time audit.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I go, okay, where am I bleeding out time? Where can I improve upon this? What are some of my big problems, or what are my stresses? How can I either eliminate those or reduce them?
Hold on. If you zoned out on your lawnmower or your car, listen to this part. This is the part you need. Time audit, man. Let's go, Pete. Let's give it. Because you are fucking a professional. Like, you work a lot of hours, but you're so efficient. So I want to hear a lot about this.
So originally, consultations, as you alluded to at the beginning there, that was during consultation. Generally, you'll meet with someone, you'll go over the ideas, you'll figure out, okay, what do you want to do, where do you want to do it, go through all the basics. Take all the information down, go over through a couple different things, fine. And then you say, okay, let's set up an appointment, take a deposit or multiple appointments and go from there. So that initial consultation generally takes 15 minutes to, let's say, half an hour. That in itself, you think, okay, for every tattoo, if you have to do one of those, if you do 10 or 15 tattoos a week, now you're going to do, let's say, 20 minutes per, right? Now, that's a good chunk of time. That's like a good couple hours just doing consultations for that week's tattoos. But one of the other bigger problem is, I found for me personally, is trying to set up times. So you'll have 20 messages and you're getting back, can you do this time? No, this doesn't work for me. Oh, can you? Okay, I can do that. Oh, can we switch that? Now you're bleeding out 3 to 5 hours just setting up times for consultations. So that's 3 to 5 hours that you're not producing revenue. So how through all of this can we refine it or change it? So my initial thing was, okay, I'm going to set up one specific day or specific times. These are the times, come. And sometimes, well, I can't make this, I can't make this. Well, if you can't make it, if you're going to put an investment of how many thousands of dollars in for a tattoo, if you're not willing to make a small investment in time to make it work, well, then you're already eliminating yourself. You could potentially be a problem that if you're not flexible, this probably isn't going to work. So that kind of eliminates that and cuts that out. There are people, of course, who make some changes to, or you try to accommodate them. So that was the next step, which worked quite well. But still, I found that there was problems with setting up times and even with appointments. One of the other problems I find too is I am a people pleaser and I will work myself to the bone setting up these appointments when I shouldn't. So I will put in 18 hours in a day. Can you please get me income? Okay, I'll make it work. And to the detriment of my own health and to my relationships and everything else, I had to eliminate myself from that process because I just knew no matter what I did or said, I knew I was always going to bend and try to accommodate people. That's my problem. That's my weakness. I had to cut that out. So I've now gotten to the point where I've cut myself out of that completely. People go onto the website, they go to my artist section, they fill out a consultation form. I look at that consultation form. I look at that, and if I think that's all the information I need, I don't need to get and talk with you, we don't need to have a face-to-face, great. I return, I say, you will go pick out X amount of tattoo time in the schedule that's already set up online, and you choose wherever you want. It's at your leisure. You can get in as soon as you want or as late as you want. I'm not going to change it. It is what it is. So now I've taken myself out of the equation, like, oh, can you please leave? No. Whatever's there is there. So I've set my parameters to the hours that I'm willing to work, and I don't overstep that. If I really want to, I always can, but that's that. If I need to meet with someone, then I certainly can. But one, I've taken out so much time because I don't have to meet with you in person, generally. Two, I can respond to these at 5 a.m. when I'm up, as opposed to other peak times where it's like, no one wants to talk to me on the phone at 5 a.m, but by 9 o'clock, right? Well, maybe one or two people, but not many. But by 9 o'clock, I'm already out of my workout, I'm in my day, and I'm being productive. So all that productive time that people want to talk, I can't. So you identify where can you either cut out, and for me it was definitely myself out of the equation, and two, making a system that puts control into the hands of the client. They feel like they're in control. They can choose what they want, so they're happy because I can just choose what I want. This is great. They can do that anytime they want from anywhere they want. So they're super happy about it. And there's no back and forth. Does this time work for you? No, it doesn't. How about this time? How about this time? How about this time? That's the worst. And even talking with one of my other artists, one of the biggest things is at the end of your day, you're exhausted and you have 25 messages that you get it back. People want to come in and see you. You're exhausted, you don't want to look at it. So then you go back and you go to work the next day, and now you have an additional 25. So now you got 50 you got to respond to. And that big weight on you wears you down. And if you can eliminate that by automating it, at least for me, by far it's a game changer. It's the biggest thing that I've been able to do. Buying the building and trying to automate or to take yourself out of unnecessary steps, right? And and once again, if I found or feel that there's certain parts about this that aren't working, we can always tweak it, we can change it, whatever. But the feedback from most of my clients are they love it. So for me personally, this works phenomenally. And
So you cut a ton of time.
Oh yeah.
And your customers are happier.
Ton of time, a lot of stress out of my thing. Customers are happier, clients are happier because they have control. There's almost no weaknesses or problems with that, right? Like it is for me, a much better system, like hands down.
There's less negotiation. It's more set in stone.
Because
And
I suck at that negotiation. I lose every time. The client wins and I lose.
So now, let's go like outside of the box here. So you got a guy like Casey. So I took like the traditional how your dad told you to, have the job, and I loved my job. Don't get me wrong, but like that's the traditional, way that guys our age were raised. Casey's a little bit different, and the next generation a little bit different. Their experience is freedom thing, but you did that. So like I did the pension, the salary, the benefits. And, that's how I got to be where I am in this business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all honesty, like it funded how we were able to do this, and it allowed us to retire because we had a big sum of money.
Mm-hmm.
So now a guy like Casey, who doesn't have that, the salary, unfortunately, we don't pay benefits or we do pension.
I heard you're not too
But
bad.
not like owners, we're doing okay. But like,
Yeah.
like how outside of the box have you built it to the point where, Casey owns a house, but other people past that, like how would you recommend that you you were making cash money for a while? That was a problem probably when it came to the banks, but how do you recommend just establishing yourself? Say wealth is not the word maybe, but wealth. How did you do wealth? How did you set yourself up for retirement? How are you setting yourself up for retirement?
You're suggesting that I have set myself
well,
up.
I joke around with you because I know about the money under the mattress. Stay away from us. But we always make that joke with the tattoo business. But like, how have you done that? You've done it in a different route that I went, but we've kind of ended up in the same area, right?
Well, I would say there's maybe two parts to that question I would kind of suggest focusing on. Is one, if your primary goal is wealth accumulation, then the vehicle to which doing that, right, isn't maybe going to be your passion. So, being an investment banker or something like that, it should be your goal. If your goal is you're passionate about fitness, or you're passionate about helping people out.
Let's go that road. Let's go with how are you going to be happy, but like happy and secure?
Sure, and I think that this is part of it, because if your goal is ultimately to follow that passion, the money may never come, right? You're going to have to understand that you're sacrificing financial security to do what you want and to pursue a different endeavor than most. Now, if you really want the other thing, maybe a job doing something else, working for someone else is the way to go. Like, and not that I'm taking anything away from Chrysler or a plant like that, but that's a job where there's not a lot of where someone else is dictating what you decide to do that day, but you will be compensated for it economically.
Yeah, it doesn't have the freedom, it doesn't have the risk, right?
Now, if we're talking like as an entrepreneur, I've always been a proponent of one, you're going to have to work twice as many hours as anyone else. You're going to bust your ass, and you have to be fiscally responsible.
Wait, so Pete, 1 second. For what you're saying is when I look on Instagram and all these business coaches rip apart the grind, don't grind.
Really? Is that what they say?
Oh yeah.
Good thing I'm not on that
I think like when you start grinding is like, I don't know that there's another way to do it.
Oh my God.
I mean, at some point you're looking to delegate. To think about the start, it's a grind.
I think in anything in life, if you're not grinding, if you're not putting forth an effort and sacrificing, where's the joy of accomplishment, right? And once again, if your sole goal is to be that Instagram flashy rich person, well, I don't know how to tell you how to do that. That's foreign to me. Now, if you have a goal and your happiness will come from the pursuit of that goal, and it's going to be hard, fucking go and do it. And it doesn't matter whether that's a physical attribute or financial, whatever. But the easy way out is always going to be shallow and empty. Well, maybe not always. What the hell do I know? They look like they have a good life. But I believe you have to work hard. You have to work harder than anybody else. And you got to love doing it, because then if you don't love what you're doing, you're not going to be able to put those 18 hours in 7 days a week for an extremely long period of time. Now, as long as you do that and you're relatively smart with your finances, hopefully you can save and you can live a modest lifestyle until you get to that point. And once again, this is the places I lived forever, I didn't have a car for years. I didn't even have a license for years because I didn't need a vehicle. So that was an expense I forego because I didn't need it. I didn't need the insurance. But we lived in a shitty house or a shitty apartment or close from Value Village. Like, there's all these things that, how can I make sacrifices to save money to eventually get to that financial place that will allow me to move to the next step in my goal? And once again, you build, you then take the next step in your goal business-wise, and then move on from there. And then your goals change and whatever. And it's one of those things too, right? After my issue with the bar, that was one of the biggest lessons I learned, is like, I need to own the building. I own the building. Not only is that a big financial investment, but it also takes the power out of someone else's hands. I build something, it's successful, and that can be stolen from me if I'm not careful. If they have bigger lawyers and they have this and that, then it's all gone. For what? So the security against that was, buy the building. That's not going to come overnight. You got to save money. And you got to, you don't eat out. You pack a lunch every day. I still pack a lunch every day to go to work. Like, it's just, there's certain things you have to sacrifice, knowing that your goal is something greater. And then I think there's nothing more than you can say is hard work and sacrifice. And if you want to, at least for me, that's where I got to where I'm at. And if someone has a different or a better way to do it, then it's a whole different world out there, I guess.
All right, so we here firmly believe there's a ton of great trainers, a ton of great gyms. There's a ton of great tattoo artists in the city of Windsor.
Oh, fuck yeah. Tons.
But people don't, we talked last week, like one of our sayings was, people don't pay for coaching, they pay for coaches. And I really think that that's where you stand out. Like, yeah, there's a ton of people who do tattoos and who do very good tattoos. Mm-hmm. And, you did a great tattoo, but it would have never been back if it wasn't for how you are, who you are. And I think that says a lot.
My charm and personality.
Yeah, you know what? You're not for everybody, man. You're not for everybody. I'm going to put that out there. You guys go in there. But but I think that's what sets you apart in this city of Windsor. Like, your art is obviously fantastic. Your skill set is amazing, but it's like your passion for what you do. When I go to you and I present a tattoo and you're like fucking geeked, that's what keeps me coming back. It's not, the friendship, the loyalty, but that's what keeps me coming back. Sure. Is that passion. So kudos to you, man, on that. I would love to know, so how do people get a hold of you if they want to book one of these fancy consultations? Well,
no problem. And if I can actually, just a quick aside to that is, and where I would swing that more into business is that, you're getting permanent art from someone, so doing tattoos is one thing. But I would suggest anyone can open up a tattoo shop, and anyone, there's lots of tattoo shops. And I can't stress enough how amazing, we have such a huge amount of amazing artists and shops in the city. They're fucking phenomenal. I can't say enough about the people I have the luxury of working with, not at my shop, but at lots of other shops. They're phenomenal. But what I would say is why I think, let's say, our business side is so successful, where we have the most amount of artists under one roof, is because, like you said, you're selling yourself or you're selling an environment. And I think as a business, you want to provide an environment where, at least for me, my employees can flourish, or not employees, that's the wrong term. My coworkers can flourish as best as I possibly can. I want to give them the tools and the environment so that they can be the best they can be, without stress, without pushing down or whatever. And it takes time to, make sure they're doing okay. How are you doing? Show appreciation for us working together as a team. But I think that's our strength as a group, is that the people that are there love being there and they're super happy being there, and that any clients coming in can feel that, and they feel like, even if I don't want to go to this artist, I can go to the next artist, or I can go to some other artist. And being a good artist is one thing, but having a group of artists under the same roof and trying to run a business where people want to work with you under your roof, I think that's a much greater goal, I think, for me. And I'm so fortunate and happy that we have a great group of people around us, artists and partners and everything else. And that's what I would say to most people is like, if you're running a business or you're trying to do a business, would you want to work there if you weren't the owner? Would you want to leave your job here to go and work with you and your group and your team? And if the answer is no, then maybe you should reconsider how you do your business and what are you providing other than just a paycheck or monetary gain, right? So I think there's a lot of businesses that lose sight of that, and they just think, you're going to do a job, I'm going to pay you money, and that's the end of it. That's great, but generally that employee will go somewhere else or won't work with you as best as they can. Where if you can provide, which I know you guys do, and we've talked about this many times, a family unit or a team, and you work together as a group and you provide more than just a paycheck or anything like that. I think that's where success lies. Not only in making people better, making people happier, but also making your team stronger and hopefully exporting that into the world around you. So I want to at least maybe touch on that, because really, who cares about being a good artist, but being a good person or business partner and kind of where that ripple effect happens, I think that's far more important. So
Yeah, 1000%. Couldn't agree with you more.
okay.
Case?
Definitely, no, I agree. I think there's a big thing, like good people attract good people, right? So you being able to do that and be a very like presentable person, all these good artists want to work with you. They want to, and you have an exciting place to be at. That's where people want to go. That's where you want to go to get good art. You want to go sit in a place, like Tony says, it's big screens in front of you, like as kind of small as that may seem, like if it's high energy, people are getting along, you want to be in that building.
For sure.
As opposed to being in some office where people are kind of yelling under their breath at each other. Like you can feel that, and
you don't want a toxic work environment, right? You got to be there. You got to be there with all the other people too. So make it the best you possibly can and the happiest you can.
There's a standard in your place. Like when you walk in there, you're not a bunch of people just down, doing tattoos. Like everybody stops, from the hairdressers on the way in to everybody in your crew doing the tattoos, all the guys and girls, to say hi. And I don't believe it's just because they know me, like, and they know that I'm a good friend of yours. I think it's because that's the way.
Well, you're the hot cop that comes through.
Say that again.
Exactly, yeah.
Put that up there, Josh, please.
Cut that one out. Editing crew, cut that one out.
Do not
Double
cut
down on
that.
that one. And I once again, as
People can hear your head grow on that one.
My hat's so tight.
well, his shirt's still on, so that's okay. We're not at that point yet. But I also have to say, as I've been going through this, half my brain's been searching to find Carla's last name, and it's Hominick, and I don't know how I forgot that.
We got it.
It's so horrible. I'm so sorry, Carla. Like, oh my God, I feel like such an ass. It's terrible.
All right, man. So how do we get a hold of you? I want a consultation. I want to get a hold of you to get a tattoo. What do we do?
So real easy. Go to popinkwindsor.com. Go on the website. There'll be an ugly picture of me on there. Just go press on to my artist section, and then it'll go to the consultation form. Fill out a consultation form. And generally what will happen is within 2 business days, I will get back to you with kind of the next step, which is usually just picking out the amount of time. Because of the situation we're in now with COVID, and because we're closed until the government allows us to reopen, which we have no idea when that's going to happen, everything's pretty much on hold. So you can fill that stuff out. You may not get a response for another week or 2. But you will get a response before we open, so that you can then take the next step. So
Awesome, man.
popinkwindsor.com.
So on the COVID note and on the tattoo note, I have to hit you up here.
Yeah.
You are. I don't know that there's a few tattoo guys who do a lot of cops and firemen, but I don't think anybody does more than you. You do a ton of us. We are doing a charity, a 5K run. One, you're gonna run. I know you are. Or walk at least.
Yes.
Okay. I know you're at True
What's the
Fitness with
time
Luis, and Luis is involved, but me and Luis.
Love that guy. And shout out to Luis.
Shout out to Luis
And a quick
for always
thing,
getting behind
as
me.
we were saying, right? Like, you don't pay for a trainer. You don't pay. You pay for the individual themselves. And once again, like, obviously, I love you guys. You're just a little far away. And then it's, with Luis, he is. If you would have told me you're going to pay for a trainer, like obviously being physically active and exercising ever since I was a kid, I would have told you to go fuck yourself, never in a million years. And then I finally did because I needed rehab for my shoulder because of overworking. I now could never see myself not retaining Luis for his services for nothing else, where we can talk about business or we can talk about personal things. And it's if you're with a group or a trainer or anything else, it's so much, especially if you're with the right one, it's so much more than just them telling you what things to pick up and put down. It is the whole mental health aspect cannot be overstated, at least in my case. And that's what I would say to people sometimes, like, oh, it costs X amount of dollars to go over and train at Garage Gym. It's like the intangibles you will get from that far outweigh the things that you could even perceive. And to try to put a monetary number on that is impossible until you do it. And then you realize, like, I'm never going to give this up. Maybe to the layman, is that a lot of money to pay for something like that? It's not even close to the amount of money I would pay for services that you get from someone like yourself or Luis or other things. So what I would say is, on a side note, make an investment into yourself. And in order by doing that, one, your physical health in this COVID thing, keeping your immune system and thing up, but also your mental health by having people around you who are going to be supportive, inspire you. You can't put a price on that. So just anyone thinking like, oh, I don't know if I want to, just go do it. And you can quit some other time, but do yourself a favor, do it, and you'll see the value in it.
Awesome, man.
All right.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Let's call that the day right there. That's a great,
that was great.
Great chat, man. And thank you so much
Thank
for
you very
coming
much,
on.
gentlemen.
Thank you
I
for the
appreciate
beautiful wall.
Yeah, we haven't gotten the bill yet, so
No, bother.